Hello world and welcome to Learning Java, one byte at a time. This is video 14 in a tutorial series geared at bringing the wonderful wide world of Java to those with little or no programming experience. This video is a follow-up from the last video, and in this one we're going to continue with our car object, except we're going to make the code a lot cleaner. We're going to go ahead and walk it back into a better way of making those constructions of car objects. So if we jump right back into our build car.java and our car Java, we're going to make a couple of edits. And so you'll notice that this, while it did work, is it's not a very dynamic or concise way of doing this, because this requires that we know a whole lot about what these cars are going to be, their attributes, and it requires us hard coding that information into the program. And it also gives the build car class direct access to all of the attributes and methods of the car class, which isn't necessarily a good thing. And so wouldn't it be nice if we could simply pass through the attributes of the car as variables to the car constructor class and put all of that work on the constructor class to assign those attributes? It would add a layer of separation between whatever class was calling the constructor object and the constructor object itself. Plus, it would be a lot more dynamic, because at that point we could build a user interface that would accept those attributes as input and then pass them through to the constructor class and have the constructor class assign that. And so let's start by coming in here. We're going to go ahead and delete out these commands in the build car class that are assigning these attributes. We'll leave the commands to print out to the system because we still want to see that. We'll jump in here to the car class, and instead of having a constructor method with empty parameters, we're going to go ahead and say, look, I don't know what this information is going to be, but we do know that there's strings and integers, so why don't we just go ahead and assume that the user is going to input those and pass those through from the build car class, or from, in fact, any class that's going to be calling this constructor class. And so we'll go ahead and pass through the strings that have the attributes, the string car make, car model, car color, and then the integers car year and car mileage. Now within this constructor method, then we can take those parameters being passed through and we can make assignments to the attributes of the car right here and now upon construction. We'll leave the car counter incrementer because we do still want to keep track of how many cars are being created. And you may wonder why I've called this car make instead of just make, or car model instead of just model. And it's true, I could have just named it make and model. However, it wouldn't have been clear that the parameters are separate from the instance fields. Now, it's true that this value will eventually be assigned to this value, but just for clarity, it's important to sort of distinguish. This is an argument being passed through, it's a parameter, and this is an instance of that variable, and they're separate entities. So we're going to distinctify it by actually calling it car make and car model rather than just saying make and model. So now within the body of the constructor method, after it increments the car counter, we're going to go ahead and assign all of the information that was passed through to the instance variables of the attributes of that particular object. Now the problem is that we don't know what the name of that car object is. We don't know if it's car 1, car 2, if it's my car, your car, first car. We have no idea, and so we need to come up with something that's super generic. We need to come up with a way of just saying, without knowing the name of that particular car object, just assume that it is a car object and make those assignments right here and now. And the way that Java enables us to be able to do that is with this keyword. So we're going to say this and then use the dot operator to access the fields, and then we'll use the assignment operator to set it equal to whichever was passed through. It looks a little confusing if you haven't ever used it this way before, but this is saying whatever instance of car is being created right now, which happens every time we call the car constructor method, access that instance of the make field and then set it equal to whatever's being passed through as a parameter. And we can do this with everything being passed through. This dot model is equal to car model. This dot color equals car color, this dot year equals car year, and this dot mileage equals car mileage. And here's another reason why we distinctified the names of the parameters from the names of the instance fields, is because otherwise, if I had just called this make, I would have been typing this dot make equals make, and it's super unclear as to exactly what's going on there. I feel like this is just a much better way to sort of illustrate the cause and effect that's going on within the flow of the program. And so now that we've made the commands to have the constructor method assign those attributes to to whatever this car object is being created at this particular time, we know that every time we call this constructor method, no matter what the program is calling that particular car object, all of those assignments are going to happen. Now, the last thing we need to do is we need to actually make sure that we're passing this information through, because when we call the car constructor method, it's going to be expecting a couple of strings and integers so that it can make these assignments. So we're going to do that over here in the command to construct the car object. Rather than just use the empty parameter set of a car constructor method, we're going to pass them through right here. It's going to be expecting 3 strings and 2 integers. So let's go ahead and pass through a string Chevy, Malibu, of type blue, of color blue, of the year 2015, and it has 45,000 miles. And notice that you have to pass through the information in the exact order that it's expecting. It's expecting car make, car model, car color, car year, car mileage. So the order is very important there. And in the next one, let's go ahead and create. We'll do a Nissan Altima. It will be gray. It will be from 2013. And this one will have 75,000 miles on it. All right, so upon constructing these cars, we're passing through the information. That information becomes a little bit further protected by going into the car constructor method and then having the method itself make those assignments using the this operator to keep it generic and self-referencing. And we'll save this file, and we'll make sure that this file is saved. Then we'll keep these commands to print all of that out to the console, because we still want to see that it's working and that it's correct. So let's go ahead and try to compile this, and I hope that I got everything right. Keeping in mind it is a package, so use the dot operator. All right, so the car class compiled correctly. And the build car class compiled correctly. So now let's go ahead and run this as you would with a package. Perfect, and it looks like it worked. We have our Chevy Malibu Blue 2015 with 45,000 miles. We have our Nissan Altima Gray with the year 2013 and 75,000 miles. And our static variable car counter incremented twice, giving us a total of 2 cars, which is in fact what we have. So this better way worked. However, there is an even better way. There's a best way that we can do that, and that's by using methods internal to the car class called setters and getters that will actually make these attribute assignments for us and will allow us to use a private modifier on these attributes so that no other class has access to them. The car constructor class will be the only one that can access these methods and fields, which keeps it even safer. And so rather than pass them through the car constructor method, we're going to actually define a couple of methods called getters and setters, and we're going to have it happen inside the car constructor, inside the car class itself. And so the way that we're going to do this is outside of the car constructor method, but inside the car class, we'll define, it's going to be a void method. It's not going to return anything, and it's going to be called setMake. And it's going to be expecting a string that we'll call CMake for car make. Again, we're differentiating this parameter from this parameter. And inside that, we're going to go ahead and make the assignment that this.make, again using the this keyword because we don't know exactly which it is going to be equal to cmake. So we're going to have a method called setMake. It's going to be expecting a string that we're going to refer to as cmake, and then inside that method, when it's invoked, it's going to assign whichever car is in question its field make equal to whatever we pass through. And so after this, we're going to go ahead and have a method. This isn't going to be a void method because this one actually needs to return a value. We're going to have a getMake, and it's going to return this.make. And so this is our setter, and this is our getter. Now what I can do now is I can add the modifier private to these fields, and in doing so, it keeps any other class, including the build car class, from having access to these fields. So if I were to try to run this one now and access the car1.make or model or color, it would say, whoa, hold on there, mister, those are private. You don't have access to those. I can't share that information with you. However, I have a nifty little method that will give you that information, but only under the circumstances that I see fit, and those are the getters and setters. And so, instead of using the car1.make to directly access it, I'm going to do car1.getMake, like this. So what this is going to do is this is going to invoke the getMake method of car1. The getMake method is a method that returns a string, and the string that it returns is going to be equal to this, which is going to be car1 if that's what I'm invoking it from, .make, which is now accessible from this class, but not from any other class because the make is now private. And so that adds that layer of protection and makes sure that I'm going to give you access to this information, but only in a way that I see fit, only in a way that I know for sure is going to be conducive to the program flow. So we'll go ahead and make the setters and getters for the rest of the attributes for this file. Keeping in mind that the set year and set mileage are going to be accepting integers, not strings. All right, so that's all of our setters. We'll go through and finish our getters. Again, remembering that the getters for the year and the mileage are going to return ints. So we're going to do int All right, so that completes creating all of our getters and our setters. They are inherent to the car class, and these attributes of the car object are now set to private so that they're only accessible from within this. So now, instead of doing the assignments here in the constructor class, we can do this a couple of ways. We'll start by actually just calling it from within the constructor class. Actually, you know what? We can delete all of these parameters now, because now we want to get back to a more basic structure and only have it increment the car, but we'll be able to call these methods from within whatever builder class we're using. So now we've constructed our two car objects, and now we can do car1.setMake. It's expecting a string, so we'll pass it through, let's see, we'll do a Tesla Model 3. We'll make it red. This one's expecting an integer. And we'll give it 500 miles. And we'll do the same thing for car 2. Let's make this one a Model S. We'll make it charcoal. We'll make it a 2020, and we'll give this one 750 miles. So now, we've done almost the exact same, it's going to result in almost the exact same thing, except now we've encapsulated that code, we've made it a lot more protected. We're using a method that we've defined in the car class, so that now any other class that uses it has to use it under the terms of the car class. So we've called it setMake, setModel, setColor. We're passing through the necessary parameters that those setters are expecting, like so, for both car 1 and car 2. And over here, those setters are going to be accepting those strings, assigning them to local variables, and then using the this keyword to assign it to whatever instance we're invoking, which happens to be car 1 or car 2 or whatever car. That's what makes the this keyword nice, is it's super generic and self-referencing. Next, we need to call the getters. So over here, as we're displaying this information out to the console, instead of having direct access to it, we're going to have to do it under the terms of the car class. So we're going to say print out the line that we're going to call, or print out the literal string model, and concatenate car1 dot get model. And since it's a method, we need to use the parameters to invoke it, the parentheses, car1 dot get color, car1 dot get year, and car1 dot get mileage, like so. And we'll do the same thing for car 2. And we'll still leave the command to print out the total number of cars made. And let's see, make sure that I haven't made any mistakes here. If we've got all of this correct, we should be able to save this one. Coming over here, we should be able to save this one. And let's go back to our command prompt and recompile this. All right, we have a small error here. Here we go. I confused the C mileage with the car mileage in the car class. So let's go here and fix that real quickly. Yes, this should be C mileage. Just another mistake, but that's an easy fix. We'll go back here and we'll try to recompile it. And that one compiled successfully. Let's go ahead and compile our build car class. And that one did it successfully, so now let's try to run this. All right, awesome, and it worked. So we have our Tesla Model 3 color red 2019 with 500 miles, and our Tesla Model S color charcoal 2020 with 750 miles, and our total car count of 2. And so this video ran a little bit longer than I was hoping, but it was super necessary to make sure that this was all clear because these concepts are certainly becoming a lot more abstract, and I do want to take a little bit of extra time because this is the fundamentals of object-oriented programming, and this is best practices with Java. And so without going too much further on all of this, I hope that this was educational and informative. I can't wait to see everyone back again in the very next video. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.